Sorry, my
Do
computer
the
was
thing.
muted for some reason.
Oh, it's okay.
I can only kind of see in this mask. I can see enough to not bump into things, but not enough to like read chat.
Yeah. Mm.
Wait, Apollo. Why did I get an email saying, welcome your new patron, PF Apollo?
Because
What
it
is
just, I don't know. Your payment got denied. No other ones, because I looked through every Patreon. Yours got denied. Did it go through again? Because it keeps telling me
Yeah.
it didn't.
I got the email saying it did.
Oh, well, I might have just accidentally paid for the next 3 months in a row because I kept
Oh boy.
doing it and it kept saying it wasn't working, but we'll see.
Oh, who knows? Hello, Yuri. Hello, Muffin.
Do we need another night? I feel bad. We have so many patrons that could come to the chat. And obviously we have our OGs who come every week, most of the time anyway. Apollo every week, every time. Daddy Bat Night almost every time. And my sister says everyone is asleep. Screw them. Wake them up.
Do they all work like typical Monday to Friday jobs? I don't know what everybody does.
No, my sister,
I mean,
my dad's visiting my sister and her boyfriend. He works weird hours and is basically an indentured servant to his company. And my dad is like a third shift person at his work and also just asleep all the time, like old men tend to do. So
For the record, my wife and I did win best couple at our neighborhood Halloween thing. So
what'd she go as?
she literally just wore her street clothes. She's a natural redhead. So she wore her
Aw.
street clothes and a t-shirt that had the little heart that looks like Spider-Man's mask and said we were Peter and MJ.
Cute.
That's so cute. I love couples costumes. We didn't really go very hard this year because we just moved, my kid's a pterodactyl. I got some random like Victorian vampire costume from Spirit Halloween. And then my husband got some random steampunk costume. We're just gonna do that.
I'll probably just dust off a costume I have. I have Little Red Riding Hood. Or sorry, not Little Red. She's like very grown up. But not in a sexy way. It's like a full length gown with a red. It's like a full length red gown with a hood. So I call it my Little Red Riding Hood costume. And like a couple just like spooky looking dresses. Nothing too crazy though.
It's
Oh,
See,
wild
the suit
because
only works though if you've
sorry.
seen the Spider-Verse movies, because otherwise it's like, why is Spider-Man wearing a bathrobe?
I figured it was something I didn't know. I'm sure it was a reference because I haven't seen the Spider-Verse movies yet. I really want to. I know. I keep hearing how good they are.
And I'm right at the end of Spider-Man 2. Just show how much I love you guys. I've been playing this game so much. I've nearly 100%ed it, but I stopped so I could be here.
I don't know how far in I am. Maybe 30% of the way. I don't. I'm just past where Harry gets some powers.
Yeah, when he shows those powers for the first time, I geeked out because comic book references galore. I'm like, oh my god, I was nerding out so hard.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do a podcast?
Sounds
Yeah.
good to me.
Okay. Hmm.
Twitch has stories now?
Oh, does it? That's weird.
I don't know. I just opened it up and Navi has a story. I've never seen a story before.
I'm sick of stories. I can't keep up with them. There's too many apps that have them. Just stop. A post is enough.
Stories, reels, shorts, all the things. Yeah. Okay. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Ship, the podcast where we analyze, rate, and review all that the world of video game romances has to offer. I'm Jennasis, the girl who is in a really weird spot right now because I was hyped. I just got off the Mass Effect lorecast, but now I'm kind of tired from it. Then I ate a really big burger, but I've also drank half a Monster. So I'm in like this weird, exhausted, but also hyper mode. So let's see where it goes.
Like someone tried to animate your corpse.
A little, maybe.
Like I am Virvada, the girl who is just always tired. So same. I also ate a big dinner, so I'm kind of too full now. But I am drinking wine, and wine makes me sleepy. So it's just all compounding.
Oh, yay. Let's open it up then. Of course, tonight is last Friday of the month, so we have our patrons here, Apollo and Bat Knight. Apollo, where are you at on energy scales?
I'm always tired too, but I'm drinking strawberry daiquiri, Seagram's Escapes. It's delicious.
Ooh. Bat Knight? Spider Knight?
Hello there. As far as my energy goes, I don't know. I've been really sleepy for the past few days, but for some reason, within the past hour and change, I'm like jazzed to the moon. Maybe I'm just excited to see you guys.
Aww.
Thanks. I'm glad. We got like a second wind going on.
We will rally. We can do it. Tonight, we definitely have a very interesting topic to go over. It's one that V and I have talked about more than once. And so it's time to get some other viewpoints on this. What is your favorite romance trope and why? Who had an instant thought when they saw this question? It's only the two of you. Someone go.
Well, I don't know about the why. That part I'll probably have to think of on the spot. But I catch a lot of flack for the fact that I'm just a sucker for the hero rescuing the damsel. I mean, I know it's, super predictable what was my name and everything. But the fact is that's always appealed to me. But I've started to notice that in my sorry, hold on.
While he dies, I just wanted to call out really quick. I love that you called it the hero rescuing the damsel because typically that's called the damsel in distress trope. And I just feel like you spinned it really positively. So I like that.
Well, I was getting to that because I've noticed that it used to just be, I love to see, because when I was a kid, I always would relate the hero to myself. Like, man, it'd be awesome to, save the day, get the girl and all that. But I've noticed that as I've gotten older, there are certain characters in popular culture, say, for example, Lois Lane, that seems to be finding herself getting in over her head and or tossed off a tall building like every other week. And it's like, okay, sweetheart, eventually you're going to have to learn how to at least throw a punch. So while I do still appreciate the damsel in distress the hero rescuing the damsel, I like I've almost gotten to where I enjoy just as often the moment where the hero shows up and is like, all right, I'm here to save you. And then he looks around and she's like, well, what took you so long? I already took care of this shit. So I appreciate being able to, save the day. But at the same time, that's not necessarily appealing to me anymore. While I still want to be able to save the day, I don't want to have to make it a full-time job. So, somebody that can save themselves on occasion I love to see that too. So
when you're talking about this, it reminded me so much of this really pivotal, minor line in the movie Frozen 2, of all things. And what it is Anna's out there trying to be a badass and is like fighting stuff and is out there trying to reach Elsa, of course. And Kristoff runs up and he's, the strapping man here to save the day, or you assume that is what he's going to do in that moment. But what he does is he runs up and says, I'm here for you. What can I do to help? Not, I'm here to save the day. Not, let me show you how I think we should handle this situation. Not, I'm here to rescue you. No, I am here to support you. Where do you need me? And I'm like, that, I really like that.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, there may be some recent bias given certain games I've been playing, but I honestly have to say I've been following the character of Spider-Man almost as long as I've been following Batman, and have watched all the movies, seen all the animated series, have loved it all through most of it. I gotta tip my hat to Insomniac because they are putting together such a fantastic. I'm not going to go into spoilers because the game just dropped this week. So, but they are going into such great territory. Every freaking version of every character I'm seeing is becoming my favorite version of these characters. I love the complexity of Peter. I love the dynamic of this. The first time I've always been, I've talked about this. I've always been a big fan of the Black Cat. As far as, I always ship Spider-Man and the Black Cat. This is one of the first times where I'm actively rooting for Spider-Man and MJ. I'm like, dude, these two are meant to freaking be. And as long as I've been following it, for it to finally find a version of those two characters that make me think this freaking works, I'm like, they got to be doing something right. And yeah, I don't know what else to say to that without going into spoiler territory.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, Mary, if you're listening to this, pass on to your friends at Insomniac, your coworkers. Thank you for making an amazing game. I need to play it. I really, really want to play it. And I think it's interesting that you said your favorite trope was heroes rescuing the damsels, but you've never wanted Spider-Man to end up with MJ until now, because that's kind of a classic trope version of that,
Well, it is, but at the same time, it kind of feeds into my outlook on it now, which is the reason I've always liked Black Cat is because, yes, Black Cat tends to get in over her head. But once Spider-Man has, cuffed her or whatever, she's like, hey, let's go, beat up bad guys together. Maybe that's, I don't know what the name of those tropes are. So I went with what I knew. But, having the battle lovers, I guess, for lack of a better, that's also near the top. So I don't know. It's always trying to find somebody, I'm always a fan of the hero. And so trying to find somebody that is a good mix for the hero, but that doesn't necessarily have to can do the same things he does. Finding that perfect balance is important. And it's always seemed, my younger years, when I mentioned the Superman Lois reference, it kind of feels like it's a little one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this game franchise, he needs her just as much as she needs him. And they genuinely balance off each other. So, and I loved seeing it. And there's a culmination. Seriously, if y'all play it, it's going to be on your list of things to discuss. I have no doubt of that whatsoever.
Ooh, yay. All right. I will definitely, I'm pretty sure it'll be already on our list, but maybe it'll go on my list of games that I'm actually going to play. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you for all of that. I really liked that one. Holla.
I know I got long-winded.
Oh no, it's all good. It's only the two of you guys tonight, so
I'm never going to fault anyone for being long-winded. Have you met me? I'm very long-winded.
I think looking at the different tropes, I think I mean, this isn't a trope. I like the nerdy smart girl in a game, but that's not a trope. If I'm gonna go with a trope, I'm gonna have to go star-crossed lovers because it keeps everything interesting. You never know. You're Especially if it's a game or TV show where you don't know what's gonna happen. You are always on the edge of your seat, wondering, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? And sometimes it does. Like, I mean, you could even, like in The Office, Jim and Pam were sort of star-crossed lovers for a few seasons until they weren't, and that worked. In X-Files, Mulder and Scully were star-crossed lovers, and they should have stayed star-crossed lovers. But even in video games, where sometimes they just don't get together, the hero or whatever has to like choose to humanity or the world over this one relationship, and it just keeps things interesting for me.
I definitely think that I guess there's a big difference between character tropes, romance tropes, and like storyline tropes.
Character traits and plot devices are the proper terms, but they're all tropes.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. You took my word out of my brain.
I'm sorry. Well,
no, that's
I'm not sorry for being connected to you so deeply.
Exactly. Trying to think of some video game characters that we've discussed that fall into. Is there a nerdy girl star-crossed lover that I can think of?
Well,
I mean,
just the way he was describing star-crossed lovers, like at the end, for sure, but some of what you said also can fall into something that like is kind of colloquially called like the Batman and Catwoman, where it's like oh my gosh, I cannot talk. The will they or won't they type of thing, where it's like I can tell there's chemistry, but they're not going for it for whatever reason. And then for sure that usually comes into star-crossed lovers. But I think adding the nerdy girl aspect into that, does it have to be together? Have you seen one, Apollo, that you can think of where it was a nerdy girl besides The Office? I think she's kind of nerdy. They're all kind of nerdy.
But they get together. I can't think of a nerdy girl where they don't get together. I don't think.
Well, it's not that they don't get together. It's just something pulls them apart. I think star-crossed lovers, like they want to be together.
Well, then I can go to the X-Files. Like one of my favorite, like I've mentioned on here before, my favorite episode of the X-Files is the one called The Field Where I Died, where Mulder discovers that that people reincarnate and people like their souls connect and they bond throughout the ages, and he meets his soulmate in this life, but only for a very brief time. So like that's the ultimate star-crossed lover, that he meets her, realizes who she is for like one day, and then she dies. I mean, that's bad, but that's a really good episode. I don't know if you can get much more star-crossed than that.
It's true. Oh, V, my love, what about you? I have no idea. I love way too much. And so
there's not a theme among your romance love interests in games or anything? Like there's not a recurring theme like there is for me?
No, because okay, so what do Caden Alenko, Jack, Garrus, Iron Bull, Anders, Astarion, Alistair, like these people don't have anything in common other than the fact that they're fuckable. You know, like is that my qualification? Is willing to have sex with me? Like that's not good. That's not good at all.
Like thinking about all of them, especially Alistair is the one that least fits into this, but they all have like the hidden depths thing going on because they all have fronts of like some other personality, and then when you get to know them, and that's kind of true for everyone, but like specifically with those characters, what draws us in is how vulnerable they get with you once you have cracked through their facade. Because like Iron Bull isn't like a traumatized baby the way Astarion is, or the way Anders is, or the way Jack is, or the way Caden is, but he also is not he's not interested in love until you get to that point, and then he's like, oh, Kadan, you know, all that stuff. So I feel like that's probably the recurring theme. It's just the fact that like it's what I love about the Byronic hero, about there's a side to them you don't get to see unless you are romancing them.
So I was thinking about this earlier, and you're right, Alistair does not really fit in, and I wouldn't really consider him my canon anyways. My canon for Origins is Zevran.
You like trauma babies like I do, apparently.
I do. And when I was thinking about the romance tropes, like who I actually really, really, truly fall in love with, I was like, well, I fell in love with the big burly asshole who needed his shell broken in order for me to wiggle in there and make him love me. And then, so my husband can be a dick, but that's my dick, you know? That's my asshole
that's
my trope.
Oh yeah, I understand that one for sure. I mean, you've met my husband. He is so sweet and wonderful, but there are people who think he's so mean because he has resting bitch face and doesn't suffer fools, mostly because he can't hear them, but also because he doesn't want to deal with them. But he's wonderful. Yeah, definitely phrasing that was called for sure.
Oh yes, the phrasing on that one. Yes, that's my dick. Yeah. In so many different ways does that work. Does that phrase work? So yeah, I guess throughout all of my romance options, the trauma holders who just need some extra love and attention, and one person that can break down their walls.
I think that's summarized by "Love Can Heal" is the name of that trope, which applies to many video game romance options. It's definitely one of my favorites because they seem to all have that too. But I already know my favorite, which is Broody Elf, duh. But like that's like a subgenre, subtrope to the Byronic hero, which I kind of mentioned earlier, which is like honestly on paper, I'm like, God, what an insufferable twat. Like, why would I love that? But in practice, he's just so darn charismatic. This only applies to male love interests that I have in video games, really, because there's barely ever a female Byronic hero, first of all, but also like the women I tend to go for in games are the cinnamon rolls, like Karlach or Judy. Like they're just precious little babies that I love, especially Karlach. I haven't romanced her officially, but like I would so fast.
I think Karlach might be the nerdy girl in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
She's the
Shadowheart
closest.
like looks like she would be with her anime bangs, but no.
Shadowheart's got the look for me, but Karlach's got the like the way she carries herself.
The fact that her idol animation is just her jumping and bouncing around is adorable. Very Tally. Very Tally.
Yeah, very Tally. Mm-hmm. It's true.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What?
Why do I like what I like, though? I don't know. I just realized I didn't say a why. Did anyone say a why? Do we have a why?
I think I had a why.
Why do you have a what? Why do you like the trauma, the babies full of trauma?
Because through the power of Punani, I can heal anything.
I like it for a completely different reason. I think that's so funny. I guess it's reflective of my demisexuality. I'm just like, oh my God, yes. My time is now. I will heal you. I will give you the safe space. My arms are here to give you the hug. Your personality is so beautiful. I love you. I will be the safe space you never got. That's why I like it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly why. Yes, there is an undercurrent of sex throughout all of the things with me, but there's also the very nurturing, I want love to heal you on all different wavelengths, whether that be physical, emotional, spiritual love, however you want to play that out. I think that love can heal, and I think that's my trope. And why? Because it has worked in real life. Love can heal.
Too. Yep. I also just like the thought of it, of it's enough to make the world a better place simply by loving. I like the idea of that. maybe not the whole world, but someone's world. You know, it's like that whole thing of like when you adopt a dog, you may not change the world, but you change the world for that dog. It's kind of like that.
Well, do we want to
Or
go
as
into
Aunt
our?
May would say, oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, or as Aunt May would say, if you help someone, you help everyone.
Okay. Teach a man to fish, you feed, or what is it? The fish dude. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Or if you
I
like
love that.
vampire
What's the
movies,
fish dude?
you like vampire movies, build a man a fire and he's warm for a day. Light a man on fire and he's warm for the
He's
rest
warm
of
for
his
the rest
life.
of his life.
I saw one about
If you-
cats where like you teach a cat to give a cat a fish, you feed him for one day, teach a cat to fish, he looks at you and asks, "Where the fuck is my fish?" and stares at you until you give him another fish.
Oh, it's so cat. I love it.
If you ever go skydiving and your parachute fails, don't worry. You have the rest of your life to figure it out. If your parachute fails, don't worry. You have the rest of your life to figure it out.
Oh, you don't need to repeat it. I won't be skydiving for that reason. No, thank you.
I want to go.
I'm out. I don't like falling at all.
Life is scary enough. I don't need to like threaten my own life with like fear of death. I don't even know what the draw is. I am terrestrial on the ground.
I want to know what it's like to fly.
I'll just keep that in my dreams, or I don't know, games where I can fly, like Horizon Forbidden West or stuff like that. I'll just
I mean,
just vicariously
bungee
do
jump.
that.
That's bungee jump. That's sort of
Yeah.
like it.
Oh, no,
Doesn't take as
no.
long.
Wait, why do you want to skydive but not bungee jump?
Why? Because skydiving, you have an instructor, you have a person there with you. Bungee jumping is just, okay, jump off the side of a bridge and expect this bungee cord, this little elastic band, to whip you back up into the air violently and snap your back in half.
I mean, how much force do you imagine a parachute opening up in the air and stopping you immediately? Like that's a similar amount of force probably. And it's still just a piece of fabric and some rope. So it's really not any better. And at least usually bungee jumping's over some water, which it still sucks for you because if you're at a certain height, it's going to be like hitting the pavement. But that's the risk you take if you want to do adrenaline sports, which is why
To be fair, I
don't.
won't bungee jump either.
Yeah. No thanks.
Bat, the only reason I brought up tandem is because for your first 15 dives, you're supposed to do tandem, never solo. Like, you don't get to solo dive
You
for
just
a
want
while.
some like big adrenaline junkie bro to hug you while you plummet. Is that the reason?
But no. My first planned skydive was supposed to be with my dad. So, like, I have a completely different vision of this in my head, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Well, forgive me for assuming.
That's funny though. And I think that's also part of it is because like I grew up watching my dad skydive and stuff, and so to me it seems it's safe. And the only reason that I didn't was because I was too young to go up, and then life and where we are now. But
That's fair.
anyways, we have tangented way too far. So let us go into the middle of the show. Take our little mid break. I got a hair in my mouth. Thank you, Maya.
Cat. I was gonna say it's cat fur. I called it.
Yeah. So we will do our mid break dance. And when we come back, I mean, I do this every time. I'm going to flip the question on its head. And we can talk about our least favorite romance tropes. Nah. All right. Mid-break dance. What are we doing today? Spider-Man's here. You want to the web dance, the web shuffle, where it looks like we're shooting webs from our wrists back and forth? Oh, it's not going to be that stupid emo Spider-Man 3 dance. No, we don't talk about that one.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Oh, listener, I
I
wish you
actually did that at the Halloween party the other day.
could. Oh, it's so bad. It's worse than the Shepherd Shuffle. Or they're like right on par with each other. Okay, all right. We don't have any new reviews to go over tonight, but we do have a new patron, Dex. Thank you so much for joining in. Yay! Welcome to the shipmates, the shipsters. What else have we called our fans over the last 2 years? Lots of
Hopeless
different things.
romantics.
Mm-hmm. Phase. Yeah, lots of different things. Okay. I also have an announcement. We are currently at 149 ratings on Spotify. 149. Okay. Next week is V and I's 2-year anniversary. Do you know how perfect it would be if we hit 150 on our 2-year anniversary? So please, if you have not taken the 2.5 seconds that it takes to leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, please do that now to wish these two girls a happy 2 years together. Yay! We also thank our lovely lovely patrons in the middle of the show. So a huge shout out, big love, and major thank you to Toasty and Apollo, Becky and Daddy Bat Night, Miss Theos and Muffiny Cake, Mackenzie and Win. Yeah. All the love.
Yeah, and more you need to show up. Where are your faces? What do you look like? Haven't seen you in forever. Also, it's just fun to do patron chats because it's just us dicking around for an hour.
Yes.
Special shout out to Daddy Bat Night and Apollo because they're OGs who pretty much always show up.
Yes. Yes. Gosh, it has been we've had Patreon for. Oh, it hasn't been the whole time, and we've definitely seen a lot of faces come and go, and we would love to see more of you be able to join our show at the end of the month, the last Friday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. That is when we have our live stream, and hopefully we can get some more people starting to join us in the future. Yes. All right. Should we get back into the middle of the show? Get back into the middle. Okay. No, how about we get back into the show?
Sure. I'm gonna have to think about this one though.
The least favorite? Yeah.
Oh, this one's easy for me.
Go for it.
So, I mean, I don't know the exact name of the trope, but I don't like the trope where like two people just hate each other and then just get together because of it, simply because I've seen that in the real world and how badly it turns out so many times, especially as a high school teacher, like how awfully those types of things turn out so much. I mean, they could work out sometimes, I suppose, but man, I've seen those things turn out bad. So I hate that trope because people see it, and especially like teenage girls, they see it in games, they see it in movies and think, oh, it'll work, and it never freaking works, and they get hurt over and over and over.
It's called Enemies to Lovers. It's called Enemies to Lovers and is so popular. Oh man, I've enjoyed a few of those myself, not in real life, in my fiction. And you know, when you really sit back and go, this is literally just like some of these stories, like I'm thinking romance novels and stuff, not necessarily games, but you're like, they're starting out like actual enemies. Like they hate each other. And through their hate, they're like, wait, it's not hate. it's passion. And I think in real life, that is a very flawed belief. That I agree with you. It leads to bad things usually. People shouldn't be screaming and arguing and having like hot makeup sex all the time. That's not a functional relationship. But I also think in fiction, it can work as a very interesting dynamic as long as you don't bring it to your real life. But yeah, like a good game example we use in our talk that we just did at the Portland Retro Games Expo was Bastila and Revan, because technically they were enemies and then they could become lovers. But yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, does that one count though? Because they got all romantic-y after he got his mind wiped.
Yeah,
So
but
there could
she
be the
knew
argument
who
of
he
them working-
was.
Well, fair.
So I think I think yes, there's like a technicality because they both weren't aware that they were enemies at the time. And they weren't really like enemies at the time that she started falling in love with him, but she was supposed to think of him that way. Like she's supposed to be guarding him basically and being like, let's see if this former Dark Lord of the Sith can turn a new leaf now that we've reprogrammed him. And then she fell in love with him. So yeah, there's not really a good example of that in games that I can think of, but like plenty of movies and books, shows. And I don't know why that's such a popular thing to show. It's everywhere. And I feel like it really does give people a false sense of like what a relationship should look like.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ones where it works out, but I don't think that in the real world it actually would. I agree.
Yeah.
But
I
in
think that's
video
why we
games,
should
it's sometimes
separate.
fun.
Yeah. That's why we should separate. Like the stuff we like to consume as media should not necessarily directly reflect our real life experience because it's a catharsis. That's especially for video games. It's a way for us to experience things that we definitely couldn't in real life. And that can and should include romantic liaisons. You don't need to go out and like have this kind of relationship, you know. Like all you guys out there romanticizing Gortash, I get it, but you also need therapy. I do too, because I see it. I really do. But that's an example right there. Yeah, Gortash is from Baldur's Gate 3. And he's
Yeah.
or Orin, especially Orin. You guys need to look at yourselves.
Okay, but romanticizing is probably a bit further than what I would call it for me. I want orange clothing.
That's fair. Her clothing.
But probably stealing it the morning after. And then Gortash, I just think like he'd be I don't know. I don't know. I find him attractive. The voice helps a lot.
Yeah,
And
I was gonna
then
say I don't care about Gortash, but Jason Isaacs, on the other hand, I hear him talking, and I'm like, okay, Lucius Malfoy, that's okay. Yeah, I got you.
See, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like people see characters like that, and they're so like handsome, so beautiful on the outside. People are like, oh, well, they must be something to them on the inside. But no, there really isn't. They're beautiful on the outside, and they're awful on the inside, and they're not gonna change. If they wanted to change, they would have already changed in the previous 40 years of their life.
yeah, Orin is just batshit crazy, and I'm fully aware of this. Yeah. Okay. V, what about you? What do you not like? What's icky?
I mean, there's nothing I really dislike, I guess. Okay, hold on. I take it back. There is. And this is our like fundamental flaw between me and you, Jen. This is why this
Oh,
is our one argument. It's like because you love Anders and I don't, and the reason I don't like him is his massive amount of hubris. And I don't really know what the trope is, I guess, except like almost borders on narcissistic in some ways. And this is why I initially really disliked Gale as well in Baldur's Gate, because he has the same kind of vibes and he has a ton of hubris and he pays for it just like Anders does. But for me, when I hear these characters talking about how awesome they are and they're so smart, and I'm like, bitch, the evidence of you being a dumb shit is sitting in your chest right now for both of them, honestly. And I can't handle it. Like, it makes me so mad because I'm like, have a little bit of self-reflection. And sometimes they get there through some player choices, but it's often too late for them. And that just annoys me. Gale, I actually really like. Not enough to romance him, but I do really like his character. Anders, I still dislike because he doesn't really have any redeeming qualities the way Gale does. Because Gale, I like despite his hubris, and Anders, especially at the end, it's like he just went down so far, he committed so hard that there wasn't anything left except for that of his like revolutionary dude. Like, whatever the means to an end is, doesn't matter. I'll sacrifice whoever. Solus is the same way I see it. I know. He has hubris too. This is what I don't understand about me. Like, why did I hate Anders but like Solus? Because they have a lot of similarities. And so does Gale. But like, I don't like, I'm like, bitch, shut up for a second and just like have a little bit of a confidence crisis. Like, why are you, I don't know. It's kind of like they all share the trait also of them being men. So I'm like, is that why? Because are all these games like patriarchies where they're just like, I didn't make a mistake, I am man, you know? And I'm me, a woman who is like questioning herself all the freaking time. So I'm like, why aren't you doing this, Gale, Anders, Solus? Like, why aren't you questioning, should I be doing this? Is this the right path? Like, just have a little bit of doubt, a little bit.
Okay. Um, I believe that if Anders was an elf, you might feel differently about him. And if Fenris was a human, we might be having a very different conversation.
Yeah, but Fenris was full of doubt. Anders wasn't. Anders, no matter what you said to him, was confident he was doing the right thing. Up until the very end, where he was at the wall, the chicken game was almost over and it was too late to pull away. And then he was like, oh, fuck. Only if you were like the rebel or the rival path with him, though. You know, Fenris never was like that. He was constantly like blaming himself in a lot of ways, as much as he blamed, what's his name? That the
Evil
dude?
slaver.
Yeah, douchebag. Like, but he was often like, oh, I'm broken, I'm horrible, I've become this monster. You know what I mean? Like, he was always like that. So I think that's why it was different. Because it also wasn't like you could convince Fenris easily. Like, you just did his stuff, and then he was like, oh shit, you're right. You know what? It was too soon for me. I needed some time. And Anders just like, he's like, no, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And like, Gale does that for a lot of the game too, which is annoying. And Solus does that the entire time. Like, you can't convince him to stop. It's so annoying. I don't know. I hate that.
Because I think, do you think in these games, do you think Anders and Solus believe that they're good people? Or do you?
I do. I
See,
think they
and
think
that's
it's worth it to
right,
them.
but that's the thing. Like, for them to continue to believe they're good people, they can't have any doubt, because as soon as they have doubt and it creeps in, then they're going to have to look in the mirror and say, wait a minute, I might be a piece of shit. And they just can't do that. They can't back out of it because there's just no way they could ever admit that.
Yeah. And then they get scared. That's why they like push you away, like if you romance them, because they're like, and I don't think Gale does this because he has a lot of things that the others don't. It's just initially, God, he's so freaking douchey and confident, like too confident. Like, confidence is one thing, but he's overconfident. Like, I will never forget this like freaking dick slap fight that him and Lorokin had in the wizard tower. If you brought him along, and they're just like, oh, I'm so good, I'm such a wizard. Oh, you're a wizard? Whatever. Like, it's hilarious to me, but also like the exact reason why he annoyed me initially. So I was like, dude, stop it. But like I said, he has so many redeeming qualities that Anders and Solus really don't have. Like, I like Solus because he's an elf, and also because I thought you really felt like you could change him, like you could convince him through your love that like, oh, he will change his mind, and then he doesn't, which pissed me off when I first played it. I was like, freaking whatever, I guess I don't mean anything to you, because he thinks it's worth it. Like, all that collateral damage is worth it because he's got to undo his mistake oh, his mistake's the center of the universe, just like Anders. I hate that. And
See, I felt like Asterion was too full of himself. Like twice he told me that I'm not good enough for him. So I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I got Karlak over here flirting with me. She's my nerdy girl. You're gone. I'm going that way.
Asterion is a fascinating, wonderful, interesting character, as they all are in Baldur's Gate. They are some of the best written characters I've ever seen personally, and Asterion is exactly not at all what meets the eye. But I think it actually plays very much into his character that he has such high standards, because he never could have any before. So it's his first time in his life his new life, his afterlife, that he's able to say, you know what, I can choose who to sleep with, and it's not going to be you. And when he does initially choose to sleep with you too, it's not genuine. It's like a genuine experience at first. But yeah, I understand that. He has a very good facade going.
I like him. I'm just like, dude, you turned me down twice. We're done.
Yeah. I understand that one. I understand that one for sure. There was somebody, gosh, I don't even remember which character it was. That somebody told me, like, oh my gosh, you are totally gonna love this character and romance them. And one of their first responses was like, I'm not really interested in romance. And so I was like, okay, then I'm out. Nope, I'm done. I think my trope that the trope that I came to mind with the least favorite was, the young apprentice being the savior of the world and falling in love. Um, that one for me is, I'm sick of the teenager trying to save the world and struggling through their love life while at it. If you're, maybe I'm just sick and tired of young adult YA novels or video games that were centered around kids playing them, because I am a grown-ass woman who should not be playing kids' video games and being pissed off that they are designed and built for kids. That's why I have grown up and adultified my tastes. But my brain is also still reeling from a lot of what the whole discussion about Anders and Solus and Astarion and just all these people, and I'm like, I kind of see all different sides of it. I kind of see everything. VM floundering.
Well, to be fair, I think a lot of young adults are tired of that young adult stuff, because somehow we got into this talking about Twilight the other day in one of my classes, and all of them are like, so terrible. All she does is whine. He's terrible for her. This is
my God.
Like, come on. So
The love triangle. I am over the love triangle for sure.
I just watched Twilight like 2 days ago because I needed something on in the background while I work, and I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, and my sister had just recently done that, and she's like, you need to rewatch them because it's hilarious as an adult. Both of us never liked Twilight. We also just were drug along to the theater with our friends. But oh my God, it's a different experience watching it as a 32-year-old. And it's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. I cannot believe why people like it. I remember a while ago, Bat Knight went on a rant about the Joker and Harley. And as strongly as I agree with that one, I agree with Edward and Bella too. Nasty, horrible couple. Don't understand it.
In what world is it okay to just come watch a teenage girl sleep for however long, and then you tell her, oh, I've been watching you sleep for the past 3 months. And she's like, oh, that's sweet. No, not sweet at all. That's really creepy.
It's fucking creepy.
For
and
the
then
record,
he's
I was
like,
going to include...
Sorry.
I was going to include Twilight in my least hated. I don't know what the name of it is, but whatever that trope is, that. And I had 2 different examples. Unfortunately, neither one of them were video games.
Abuse. I mean, he isolates her from all her friends. I was literally watching this.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I figured it out.
He makes her lie to her dad, and then he's like driving her in the middle of the night because the other vampire is like wants to eat her, and he's like this amazing tracker. And so they're driving, and she sees all her friends come out of the diner, and it's like slow-mo, and she sees like how they're having such a good time. And I feel like a teenager would look at that and be like, wow, look, he has to protect her. Like, oh, she sees her friends and she can't stop because they're gonna get hurt or whatever. But I see that as a grown woman, and I'm like, she could be with them right now, but instead she's with this douche who has literally endangered her life and is now taking her away from her family. And then freaking also Charlie, whatever the dad's name is, worst cop ever. In the middle of the night, his freaking his high school daughter, who's 17, maybe 18, he's like, I just gotta go. I just have to drive in the middle of the night. I'm so upset. I need to leave right now because Edward just broke up with me, quote unquote. So he just lets her go. I'm like, what kind of parent is like, yes, I see you're very upset. Just go randomly drive off into the middle of the night by yourself, a high schooler. What?
Yeah. Extremely unbalanced power dynamics. I think that is, well, okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that to non-consensual unbalanced power dynamics. Because if you go into a relationship willingly accepting that this person has dominion and control over me, that is a completely different type of relationship, and that is consensual. But ones where it was like, in through all of the forms of coercion and control, we've talked about them before, but like emotional and spiritual and monetary and like all of these forms of abusive that sometimes like, 50 Shades of Grey, Christian Grey, how he has like the bajillions of dollars and can have this form of control over, what's her name, Anna? I don't even remember.
But that story was once a fan fiction based on Twilight, so
yeah,
that's why it sucks. This also applies to romance novels. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I still love the internet meme that popped up about 50 Shades of Grey. It said the only reason that's looked at as a romantic story is because the guy was rich. Let him be broke, and this is an episode of like Criminal Minds.
Yeah. Seriously. That's something I've seen so many times in romance novels too. The power dynamic is often financial, but also just like in a fantasy book, it could be like there's a vampire, there's a werewolf, there's an ancient fae prince that's so popular lately with a normal ass human girl who is 19 or something.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to me. I mean, we can talk about the age gap alone as a whole thing, but like also the power gap is the same. It's like whether it's a very rich person with a middle class or low class, quote unquote, person who doesn't have as much money, or it's like a normal human being with this ancient fae prince who can like teleport or fly or super strength or is immortal and has already lived for 1,000 years. It's like, I don't understand why we as a culture have like a fascination of that. Like it's literally like robbing innocence of the person. Like the main girl is usually a girl. So it's like, what does that say about us? That so many people like to see this powerful man rob the innocence of this young girl who cannot fight back in any way.
Yeah. For the record, since we're straying away from the Twilight topic, I wanted to say this before, just so I have. The other reason I hate that relationship isn't simply because of how much of a, ancient creeper Edward is, but the star, the heroine of this story is supposed to be Bella, and yet that woman has zero self-worth. Like she tries to throw her life for someone else in every single book.
Yep.
In the first one, it's I'm going to slit my wrist because that'll distract the vampire and protect the man I love. In the second one, I think it's he dumped me, so there's nothing left. I'm going to jump and commit suicide. Then there's the whole situation with her daughter, my life. Now, don't get me wrong. I know the mother thing is a potent thing. My life is less important than hers. I get that. But had she not already thrown herself to the lions at every given opportunity, I might have more sympathy for that. But you know, those first two I just mentioned, and then there's the one thing where like the redhead vampire chick comes back and she again slitting her wrists to protect Edward. It's just this woman has no self-worth. And so that was the other reason I hated that story, was because I was like, I'm fixing to raise two daughters. Please, for the love of God, do not let them watch this. Because I don't want them to think that their life has less than some guy.
I mean, that's like what society wants, though, is like these self-sacrificing women to help the men achieve their goals. I see that all the time. Like there's a book, I do love this book series, A Court of Thorns and Roses by S.J. Moss. I've read it a few times. It's great. But she starts out, she ends up becoming a like fae herself somehow, because that usually happens too. Once they get the guy, he gives her some power. And that's weird. But before that happens, she usually has to she has to die in some way, whether it's like metaphorical or literal. And Bella died. She became a vampire. And then we have in this book series, I don't remember, Feyre, I think her name is. She has to go through all these ridiculous, stupid trials. All these other like powerful fae creatures are watching this little human get like put through the paces just to pass the test. And she literally like dies at the end, and he saves her, as some other guys save her too. But it's just like, why did they always have to literally? I don't understand. None of these people need saving. They're supposed to be immortal and like all powerful. And like Edward spent like a whole 10-minute montage of like, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. I'm a perfect predator. And then she has to do all that to save him. He doesn't need saving. He was fine for 200 years before he ever met her.
Did anybody ever
107.
watch Gundam Wing? Anybody?
No, I haven't seen that. And sorry, I don't know his accurate age.
I'm sorry?
I heard Jen correct me on his age. I guess he's younger than I thought, but still. Oh, yeah, because he died in the Spanish flu in like epidemic or pandemic, whatever. I only remembered that because I just watched this movie for the first time since I was 16. Sorry. Yeah. Gundam. I have not seen it.
Being the Power Ranger nerd that I am, I've had many people try to get me into anime. And while I don't swear off the entire genre in general, I have yet to find one that has 100% hooked me, or at least one that counts. That's a whole nother thing. There was a girl I used to date that was such a big fan of Gundam Wing. Like she joked that was one of the characters that if he was real, she'd leave me in a heartbeat kind of thing. And she was a huge fan of this character, this series. And so like years later, I saw it was on Hulu and I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. This is that one that it's giant mechs. What's not to love? Like the first episode, the main guy, whose name escapes me, is being swooned after by a girl, because they always are. And she's like, having dreams about him and fantasies and all of this. And then when she finally meets him, he basically says in plain English, come near me again and I'll slit your fucking throat. And I was like, okay, so red flag, running shotgun already. Please, for the love of God, tell me this girl is... Wait, why is she swooning even harder? What in the world is going on with this? Like, all that did was make her want him more. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah. Again, it's that unbalanced power dynamic where if yeah, I think that's the one that I dislike the most because of how horrible and nasty and just not okay it can get. Oh.
Okay.
So
Found a term for my least favorite. It's what you were calling it, the unbound, because those were my two examples. I don't understand how you're being told point blank, leave me alone. Yet for some reason, and not only just leave me alone, but in both cases, these people are threatening your life if you do not leave them alone, and yet you just swoon all the harder. Like,
oh, wait. Maybe that's more along the extra simpy vibes.
The who?
Like, extra simp vibes. That's what I'm getting from those two stories, where it's like that I'm telling you to leave me alone. I'm telling you to back off, and that just makes me want you more. Yeah. I think that's different than a power dynamic, but
there's a difference between the I don't know, I don't remember what the trope is called, but the whole thing of, oh, he's saying no, but he really means yes. There's a difference between that and there's straight up, like I said, both instances, they are telling you, you are going to die if you do not leave me alone.
Yeah. Oh, I think we got things a little fired up and riled over here.
Yeah. I don't see how anybody could want a power imbalance relationship. Like, I could not be with someone if I saw them as not my equal. And there's not a chance in hell I'd want to be with someone who didn't see me as their equal.
I will counter that with the whole subculture that is the submissive and dominant, because that can be a very big power dynamic, but there are also, it is equally
I
unequal.
accept that. I accept that it exists. I just can't understand it. That's what I'm
in all
saying.
those
Like, I
instances,
cannot
though,
understand it.
there's rules set up. There are things for everyone's safety so that you can, enjoy yourself without risking actual harm. Not that I know from personal experience or anything.
Even beyond like the rules of like harm and hard lines and things like that, the power dynamic actually comes from the fact that if I were to say, I hate being tickled, that is a hard, absolute no for me. You touch me with a light feather touch, I am going to freak out about it. I hate it. And so, that is the submissive's form of power, is having this rule implemented and having something that the dominant cannot break, cannot pass, cannot do. And so that is where the power comes from in that dynamic. But then there's also the fact that this other person most likely is going to be physically domineering, and in other forms and ways have some form of control. And so there is an imbalance of power in some aspects, but not in every aspect. And it's when the trope hits an imbalance in every aspect of the relationship that's where it's like, no, that's an ouch.
Yeah, and like dom and submissive and just like BDSM stuff at large, usually, I mean, when it's done right and how it's supposed to be, it's defined periods of time, like very specific scenarios. It's not like your entire life and all of the time.
It can be.
It could, yeah, but like you've pre-arranged that and agreed to it versus like this kind of like, that's why you said non-consensual power imbalance, because it's not like that's how it started out. And usually in these kind of power imbalance couples in real life and in media, it's like the one who has no power or the least amount doesn't realize it's happening. Like they're getting drawn in to the charismatic, powerful person, probably liking the feeling of safety and access that it gives. Because it's usually like they wow them with like, look at who I can get, or we can get into this club without waiting in line, or I can get whatever I want, or look at all these people coming at my beck and call. I'm so powerful. And like, I can give you some of that. You can get a little bit of my glitter off of my shine. And turns out you're just another pawn. Like that's totally different than coming together as two adults and being like, I would like to not have to make decisions for a while or whatever. Like you can do this, and like having an arrangement and safe words and all that sort of thing. And not at all like what 50 Shades of Grey does, because they hide behind the illusion of like, oh, but she agreed. She didn't agree. She got manipulated into signing that, highly different than actual BDSM people.
Yes. Oh, because he gave me my first orgasm through only nipple stimulation. Fuck the fuck off.
Fake news, first of all. And secondly,
Right.
that's not the only reason. He was like, let me shower you with all these gifts and prime you to agree to this. To make it seem like you have no other choice because your life is going to be boring and stupid without signing this. Because he also like made her feel, I mean, I've never seen the whole movie. I've just watched clips. But he also made her feel like uncultured and dumb and like, I don't know. Like, oh, you're so naive. How cute. Look at all this sex world stuff you don't know. My playroom. Meh, meh, meh. Let me introduce you to this stuff. And the reason that works so well in these power imbalance couples is because the one person truly doesn't know. So they think this is how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be patron chat. I'm so sorry. We're going on rants.
It's very ranty, very rambly, very all over the place. Very, very old school two girls. Two girls, two patrons. I love it. Oh, okay. I think before we start another tirade, and start popping off about small dick energy, we should wrap it up for the night. Wrap up that small dick energy and let's do any shout outs or plugs. um, Apollo, do you have anything going on? Or what is your next concert you are attending?
Well, I don't know if the next concert we have tickets to is Taylor Swift, but that's next year. So
Oh,
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, but it's a good. I mean, we're like ninth row floor seats in New Orleans.
damn.
Not going to get better than that.
That's like right there.
It's like
Right
there.
there.
It's going to be so cool.
It is.
Okay. Well, hopefully you get to go to a different, another show in between because people should always
Comic
be
Con or
touring.
Pentacon's before then, so I'll get to meet Spike and Cordelia before then.
Yay, fun. Oh, and did you all see that there's a new Buffy book out? It is, okay.
The
Right.
book or
Is it an
the
audio title?
audio thing? Yeah, it's an audio thing.
Is it, it's an audio, it's an audible, right?
Yeah, yeah. You talking
I
about
thought
the
it,
Slayers?
yeah. Okay. I haven't fully gotten into it yet. I've been waiting for the right time to start it. Obviously the last week has been a little chaos and I wanted to fully immerse myself in a way that I could fully enjoy it and not be stressed out while listening to it. So I have not started it yet. Can't wait. Bat Night. Daddy Bat Night. How are things going for you?
Actually, as far as this month has gone, I've had like a pretty wicked, awesome month. I got a new car. I got to go to, new to me. It's a 2012 Camaro, but I'm forcing myself to drive a manual rather than an automatic, so that's fun.
Oh,
Wait, is that sarcastic? That's fun, or are you serious? Because I hate
A
driving
little bit of both.
automatics.
A little bit
I
of both.
hate automatics. They're so boring. Give me a stick all day long. I hate automatics.
I've known how. I've known enough about how to do a manual just to do my job, to be able to pull it in and out of the shop and do things. So, cocky me was like, oh yeah, I can totally handle a stick shift, in the real world. It's been a learning experience. But I'm getting used to it. And yes, in case anybody wants to know, the nerd in me did win out. It is very much canary yellow. I got Bumblebee basically. So I also got to go to a comedy club to see my favorite stand-up comic, and my wife was a smart aleck and got me like I have a picture of my foot on the stage. Like 2 more steps, he'd have been in my freaking lap.
nice.
That was fun. But as far as the interwebs and everything, I'm doing the Twitch streaming thing. I haven't done anything this week other than I did a Sunday night stream of Spider-Man 2 and Mortal Kombat Monday, and it's not We Ain't Afraid Wednesday anymore. It's Winging It Wednesday because it's just whatever I decide I want to play. I didn't do either one of those because family situations and such, and I just was not in the right headspace, and so yeah. But yeah, usually it's Mondays, Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern time. And I call all of my followers the Knights of the Gaming Table. I'm still at 68, so I'm going to laugh hysterically the next follower I get. But I'm at the end of every stream, I wish everyone a great day and a night. So.
I have to brag. He said close, so I have to brag. You guys know I love Casey Musgraves. This is how that was at one of our concerts. That's not Zoom. That's how close we were. If you
That
could
is
see that.
right there. I could see, yeah. Were you in the front row or like the second row? Front row? Oh, you're muted.
Yes, literally front row, 1 foot from the stage. Those tickets were the most stressful thing I've ever bought because I was in the queue and it just took forever. I was starting to get worried, and then finally I got tickets. And I got a golden ticket. I didn't even know what it meant, but I was like, I'm buying it. And then I got the Ticketmaster thing, and I looked at it, and I looked at the venue. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's literally front row center, like a foot from the stage, and it's a meet and greet. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
A meet and greet. Oh, that's so cool. That's like the one thing I wish could have come with like the VIP ticket I got for Fall Out Boy. I saw it with my sister in June. We were in the front row. Aside from the mosh pit, I don't do mosh pits. But, that's so cool. Was it like winter time? Because she looks totally wintered out with that hat and that jacket.
No, she was just, I don't even know what the word is, but she was going for it.
I would also
I'm
just
not
like
gonna
to
lie, I
announce,
only caught a glimpse of that picture, and it looked like Brie Bella.
that night, please check your email and announce who your 69th follower is.
All right, hang on. Make sure I go to the right email. I got 2 different ones. All right. Switch over to that one. I am Jennasis. Now follows me on Twitch as my 69th follower. Thank you.
Hell
Jen.
yeah.
I could make so many bad jokes, but I don't want you to hunt me down.
Oh, no, that was perfect. I realized that the girls were following you, but not my personal accounts. There we go.
I
Huh.
mean, y'all could always actually swing by and watch.
Yes, if you are streaming at a time where I am available to watch, I definitely will.
I don't know what 9:30 Eastern time is for you, but there you go.
Like 6:30. So
Probably fine sometimes. We'll see. I need to turn on notifications because what happens for me is I see the email that someone went live like 2 hours after they went live.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't it tell me? Why don't I have a
one
pop-up?
of my followers is a coworker, and she was like, how come I never see when you go on? Do you actually stream? I'm like, yeah, I'm streaming like every week. I had to actually, she handed me her phone so I could go through the thing and turn on her notifications. I was just like, man, the links I'm going to for this.
Gotta do that hustle.
It is. It is all about the hustle in the beginning. And that is what has led us to almost 2 years of successful ass podcasting. Yay, us. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to leave a review on iTunes or on Spotify and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can now find me on the Cyberpunk Forecast with my co-hosty Toasty, where we explore the foundations of the past, the state of Night City today, and the news of the future for all things cyberpunk. And of course, in our Two Girls, One Ship channel on the Robots Radio Discord. Come give us a follow on all the social medias and on patreon.com/2girls1ship. Our theme music was composed by the ever-talented Pipeman Studios, and our artwork was designed by the esteemed Let's Not. Links are in the description.
I am on the Robots Radio Discord as well, and on our own Two Girls, One Ship Discord server where we nerd out on all our favorite CGI significant others. Be sure to check out our live streams on Twitch on Fridays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Our podcast episodes release on Mondays because you need at least one good thing on a Monday.
So, thanks for listening, and remember,
beauty is in the eye of the controller.
Yeah.
Da da da. Yay. Bedtime. We're probably all like hanging on by a thread. We all seem really tired.
I was going to say, it's hard to find time to watch people stream and play games and listen to all the podcasts I want to listen to and watch the TV shows I want to listen to and sleep and work. Like, there's just not the time.
I've actually been sitting on an idea that I thought would be pretty wicked for a pod, but I haven't got to talk about because number one, I know next to nothing about putting a podcast together. So while I have what I think would be a killer idea, I don't know how to put it together. Number one. And number two was between streaming, the few podcasts I do follow, you guys are the only one I listen to live. I will occasionally jump into some other Robots Radio pods just for shits and giggles for a little while. You guys are the only ones I do consistently. And then with my
Sorry, Bear.
it honestly looks like my Ghostbuster gaming team is about to fall apart. And
Oh,
so
no.
yeah, it's since the end of last season towards the you've noticed I haven't talked about it at all because it's just been nitpicking and backfighting. The captain of the team and myself are both already talking like we're probably going to just finish out the season and then be done with it. But between all the drama and everything that's been going on, it's like I don't even know if I got that much left in me. So the sad part is my thoughts were like, well, if it does fall apart, I'll have more time to maybe do that podcast idea. So, yeah.
Yep, can't stretch yourself too thin.
Well, I've been trying really hard to, make a presence with this whole Daddy Bat Night thing, but at the same time, like the daddy, and as I've said numerous times, it's that part that is the most important part of that title is me being dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I got stressed out over something today. My 8-year-old daughter wrote me a letter that was on my pillow. She said, "Daddy, I'm sorry if I'm upset you. I know I'm not perfect and all this." I'm like, "Oh my God, kiddo. No, this has so little to do with you." Like I just picked her up and held her for a minute and it took everything I had not to start sobbing on her shoulder. I'm like, "Kiddo, I don't deserve you. You are just too awesome."
Yep. Oh. Babies.
I guess I'm doing something right in the parent department because I'm raising one hell of a little girl.
That's the best. I mean, all 3 of us that have human children have girls. So we can relate to that. I'm
Holy shit, we are going to be raising up. The next generation is going to be total badasses.
Oh my gosh. I was just talking about that with a dad at my kids' school because we were watching our kids play and they're so honest, but also like they don't put up with shit. And I'm like, what happened to us, bro? He's like, I don't know. I never had boundaries growing up, like personal boundaries, and I didn't either. So I'm like, I love seeing my daughter like speak her mind and not put up, like she'll just say no if something's happening she doesn't like. She's very direct. And gosh, I wish I was like that. And I'm so glad she is if I couldn't be.
But then there's also the flip side, and mamas like Yuri are raising good little boys to respect the women around around him. So
he is the sweetest.
I'm also constantly blown away by the creativity of my oldest because as you see, I did Spider-Man this year for Halloween. I did particularly the one from the Spider-Verse movies, Peter B. Parker. My daughter's favorite character in that movie was named Penny Parker. And in the movie, she's a little girl, little Asian girl, who has like a robot mech. She doesn't have spider powers of her own. She has like a robot mech that she jumps into that, fights for her and everything, or fights with her and all that. Well, that was my daughter's favorite character. And so she decided that's the one she wanted to dress as. Well, we didn't have time to do the robot. So I was like, well, what are you going to do, kiddo? We're just going to say your robot's in the shop or something. She said, no, Daddy, you're a variant of Peter B. First of all, I was like blown away. She knew the word variant already, but I was like, okay, yeah. She said, I can be a variant of Penny. I don't have to do the robot. I can be a modern day Penny because Penny's in the future with her robot. I was like, okay. She said, how I can help is I can be like your Oracle character, but for Spider-Man. I can hack stuff on computers and such and, get you into places. And she even came up with her own little code word. She is SpiderNet, spelled SPID, the number 3, R dash or dot NET. So I was like, and then I tried to, we were walking home from that Halloween party I mentioned, and she started talking to me. She said something about a drone, and I had a little baby doll because Peter B has a baby in the second movie. And so I said something about, quiet, you'll wake the baby. She's like, don't worry about it, Peter. I have drones that are on silent mode. Besides, you didn't complain when I got you into the Oscorp building the other day. I'm like, Where is she coming up with this?
Oh, yay, baby's doing RP. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm also fangirling over George right now.
Yes.
Fangirling over what?
Apollo's cat.
I'm in love. I mean, I love every cat I ever see, but George is being extra cute right now.
Okay. All right. I think we need to call it here as a night. So that way I can get to editing and then send it off and put out a show. And then next week we might be streaming. Oh no, we will be streaming early. Since you guys are normally the ones that follow along with us on the stream, just letting you know that we have got, I have a conflict at 8:30 that I need to be somewhere. So we will start our show a little bit early so that way I can be where I need to be.
Like an hour or two? What are you talking? Just so I know.
Probably like an hour early.
Mm-hmm.
Start at like 6:30.
I mean, I'll probably get a
Pacific.
notification regardless, but
yeah. So
I'll help you
but
guys on the East Coast out, Central Time and all that.
right. We'll put something out on Twitter when we plan to go live and actually do all the things. Yeah. All right. We'll see you. Bye, chat. See y'all.